My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC fight picks and DraftKings lineups run by professional fighters and MMA insiders. As always, I am joined by Nick Newell, professional fighter, professional model, and ESPN top 10 guest, as well as Dan Kramer, Ultimate Fighter alumni, UFC veteran, Bellator veteran, and Jacob Lyons, a skitty kid from Indiana. Today, we're talking about the Overeem versus Volkov fight night fight card. We're going to run through the entire card, give you our fight picks, give you our DraftKings lineups, and set you up for success. So next up on the Overeem Volkov fight night card, we have another drop, another change, another last-minute opponent. This entire fight card, their first fight back in Vegas in the new year, and they're just bouncing all over the place. Shifting up the lineup. So we have Cody Stamann versus Askar Askar. I did not stutter. His first name and his last name are the same. Cody Stamann is a giant favorite, as he should be. We have a last-minute replacement here. Jacob, what are your thoughts on this fight? Do you think I'm crazy saying that the odds are correct, or you lean in that direction as well?
Yeah, so anytime you get a short notice fight, the odds are going to favor the other guy. On top of that, this gentleman, Askar Askar, is making his UFC debut on a short notice fight. So that is worrisome, especially against a guy like Stamann, who's he's all about pressure. Pressure. He's going to get a lot of takedowns. He does have a lot of decisions. And with that being said, Askar Askar is, from what I saw, is a fantastic striker. And if Stamann's going to be pressing forward against a guy he feels like he definitely can beat, making the UFC debut, short notice fight, he might come over, press a little too hard. And this guy's got a crazy right hand. And, I think that, yes, the odds are right because of the circumstances, but I wouldn't sleep on Askar Askar. So I definitely think Stamann's going to end up winning. I think he gets the fight to the ground. I think it's definitely different levels of competition between these two. So Stamann gets him to the ground. He's going to score a lot of points. I stayed away I took my money elsewhere in DraftKings, but Askar Askar he can strike. I don't know if anyone else saw that the same way I saw it.
So Dan, I think you and I have talked in the past about these last minute COVID replacements. This year, or last year, 2020 in particular, I've never seen more short notice fights ever. And some people rose to that occasion and made the best of it, while others, maybe took fights they shouldn't have on short notice. What are your thoughts on this fight specifically, given the short notice circumstances and everything else going on here?
Yeah. I think Cody's going to win. I'm not sure if I'm going to put him in my DraftKings lineup yet. He's $9,200. I think I'm going to try to squeeze him in there. I want to do a little bit more research on Askar. And just try to find out if he's been training and ready for this. But yeah, on short notice fights in general now, like a year ago, that was a terrible thing. It's still not a great thing, but everybody's been on notice for a year now that, hey, there's 3 or 4 fights potentially every week that are going to get dropped. And if you're ready and you're in shape, you're going to get a call to the UFC. So all these guys that are taking these last minute fights, I mean, if I was still fighting, I'd be in shape, ready, 10, 12 pounds over, above weight and ready to go, waiting for the call. So you got to think that a lot of these last minute replacements are going to be coming in shape. So you can't bank on that too much. With that being said, I still think Cody's going to win this fight. I just got to figure out whether he's worth $9,200. I think he is right now, if I can squeeze him into my lineup. Because I got a lot of underdogs I want to work with. So I think I'm going to put him in there.
And for anybody watching, the DraftKings dollar amount, so in this case, Cody's $9,200, that dollar amount is basically DraftKings value in who's going to win the fight. It's not $9,200 because DraftKings thinks he's going to score 1 million points. It's $9,200 because DraftKings is saying he's going to win. So he's going to cost a lot of money. So that's why you have to be picky with your expensive fighters, because I think he's the most expensive fighter on the card. I could be wrong. My opinion is he's definitely going to win this fight. I agree with you, Dan, that last minute replacements in the new world here are much different than a year or two ago, because, everybody's on notice now that you could get a last minute call and end up in the UFC, whether you've been there before or you'd be, a fresh face. There's never been more opportunities for fighters ever in the history of the UFC. And COVID is I guess, helping in that situation. So I think Cody is definitely going to win, but he is a wrestler through and through, and he is going to take you down and hold you down. The new rules, so DraftKings new rules of riding time may help here. We've done the math before. It's like 20 something points total if you hold somebody down the entire fight. I think Cody wins. I don't think he's worth $9,200 in DraftKings, though, because as I mentioned, that $9,200 is DraftKings saying this dude's going to win, which he will. That's not DraftKings saying he's going to score you a ton of points. And if you take the amount of points I think he will score and compare it to the amount of money he actually costs, I don't think those two marry. I think there's better value in some lower cost fighters on the card.
Just to piggyback off of that, I think what's going to hurt Cody the most in this is that the level of competition is going to be not as great. And what I mean by that is, I think that once he gets on the ground, he's going to keep him to the ground. I think if the competition was better for someone that could stand up, he was going to get more takedowns and more takedowns and more takedowns. But I think with this guy, once he gets to the ground, I think they're just going to stand there. And yeah, you get the riding time, but it's nothing near if he was able to get takedown, as opposed to just one and laying on him.
Yeah, so you agree. Cody's going to win this fight, but for $9,200 in DraftKings, he's not worth the money. He's definitely going to win, and you would get a win, but you're not going to get what you would.
Yeah, he's a decision fighter. If you look at his record, he's 11 of his 19 wins are decisions. I mean, yes, he has some finishes, and maybe this is the one, but a decision fighter at $9,200 on a fight you could just lay on a guy, I'm staying away from it.
So Nick, you're a decision fighter. You've struggling for years to finish opponents. I think you've only finished 95% of them. What are your thoughts on this fight? A, to win, and I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, who's going to win. But B, do you agree or disagree with the logic of don't spend that kind of money if you're not going to get a finish?
Well, at first I got confused when I saw the fight because I said Askar Askar. Isn't he fighting Joe Benavidez? But that's actually Askar Askarov. So I got the two confused at first, and I was like a little lost. And I was like, oh, Askar, he's pretty good, but it's a different Askar Askar. It's like Andrew Andrews or John Johnson, if you translate it from Palestinian to English. So it's an interesting name, but I guess it's a common thing. And that's cool. So for me, I looked at him and I don't think he has. Stamann is like weird because he has this karate style that he keeps people at bay. And I wouldn't say he's the best striker, but it's definitely off-putting and throws you off. And it's like weird because he'll throw the side kicks and do the karate. Because his original coach was Darren Cruikshank, who's actually a very good traditional striker. And then he moved to Las Vegas to actually work at Extreme Couture with some good coaches that I'm relatively familiar with. And he can throw the bombs on the inside and he can wrestle. And I think just physically, he has too many tools for Askar Askar. And he's fought great strikers like Song Yadong before and Jimmy Rivera and went the distance. So I'm not too worried about him getting finished. I think that he's going to win this fight and it's going to be a decision.
Great. So I think we all agree. All four of us are saying Cody Stamann is going to win, but we're probably not going to touch it for DraftKings because at $9,200, you're really headhunting for 100 points, and maybe he'll get it, and we'll be wrong in that regard. But you got to play the odds here, and the odds say he's going to win. I don't know how much points he's going to score you in DraftKings.
I think I'm taking him in DraftKings, for the record.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. You're second best to me, so I guess we'll see what happens when we compare our lineups when it's all said and done.
You must not be remembering the recap from last week where I think you were fourth place out of all of us.
Well, I edit these videos, so Enjoy.
Right.
Smart ass comic that's going nowhere.